What's going on, guys? So intro to the video, watched me mount a steering servo on this axle, and I wasn't really sure what direction I was going to go with this build. It just the chassis kind of came together, but I've been thinking since the beginning, well, since the second beginning, about doing a servo actuated suspension. So I've been out here tinkering around and I've made some progress, so I figured I'd start filming. So let me get you up to speed on what I got so far. I've got two micro servos. They're not mounted to the chassis yet. I've been making some plates. I'm trying to figure out the easiest way to do it where I don't have to weld, because I'm going to need these in there and I can't weld around the tires or the shocks or the servos, so I don't want to damage anything. So I don't know, I think this is 14 gauge, 16 gauge. It's pretty solid stuff. I've been bending and shaping some stuff with that, trying to get some ideas. But these are two cheap little Tower Pro MG90S servos. You can buy them by like the dozen on eBay. They're metal geared, and I'm really hoping they're torquey enough to do what I need done here. So my upright on my chassis, I have rounded out the edge where the servo sets in it nice, and right there where the rounded part of the servo where the actual gear sticks out, it fits right into the top of that upright. And I've mounted the shock, adapting it to those smaller servo horns. It's a bit of a challenge. I had to drill it out in steps, and I'm still running a 2.5 mil bolt that I've got a spacer in the top of the shock to help make it not so rattly. There's still a little bit of play in it, but not much. And then the bottom of it is mounted to the same bolt that the lower link mount is. And yeah, so I'm really hoping, I don't know yet. I don't even have a radio to handle more than 3 channels at the moment. So I'm not even sure how I'm going to actuate these yet. I know I'm probably going to have to reverse one of them, the wiring, so it will move the opposite of the other one, so they're both going the same direction, if that makes sense. But first I figure I need to get them all mounted up. So I don't know yet. I just wanted to get you up to speed because I've made a lot more progress than I thought I would. I've got steel plate. I bent a lip on the side so it kind of hides the servo. Kind of like a little box up there, but I don't know how to attach it. My welder will blow right through that even though it's kind of a thick gauge steel. So the best option is going to be probably weld something to the upper cross member on that upright and then bolt to it directly. But right now I'm still trying to figure out how to attach the servos. That's why I made the plate. These servos have one bolt on each side, and I'm thinking I can use some kind of plastic or something to put between 2 pieces of metal, and I can bolt the servo to it from the ends where it's supposed to be attached. Alright guys, so still experimenting here. I got it welded to it. I turned my welder way down. It's not the prettiest stuff, but luckily the servo's set on top of it. I've bolted some servo horns through the bottom, and now I've got to cut off the tops, drill them out, and then I'm going to mount my top plate over it, hopefully to hold it all in place. Just not enough room back here to do 2 sets of servo horns, so I'm hoping with this flat on top and I can put one through here that it'll hold them down flat enough that they don't move. Like I said, this is still just experimenting. I've never done this before, and I'm you know, it's kind of an odd thing to try it on, but there's lots of servo type suspensions out there. A lot of folks have been doing it for a long time, and yeah, you know, this will be the first bagged RatRod RC, but definitely not the first bagged look RC. So I'm going to chop these servo horns down flush with the top of the servo and drill some holes and go from there. Alright guys, so time has passed. I did some tests and off camera, and needed to reverse the direction of one of the servos. So I found these little things. Jason suggested these to me. They're just used in airplanes and stuff. It's just an inline servo reverser, basically. If I can find my scissors. So I picked a couple of these up. It was like, I got $10 for 2 of them for $10. So I figured I might need one on the front as well when I get there. And all it is just more wire to hide. It's got a little board. So we're going to plug that in on this side, the passenger side, and we're going to give this another test and see what happens. If it'll plug in. Alright. I did have to swap that servo out because my jacking around with the with some trying to reverse the wires and stuff. I don't know. I always say my experience with electronics is not the most in-depth. So I tried some things and I burnt that little servo up. But hopefully this will do the trick. Alright, so still not getting much lift. I think my shocks are going to need more spring. I think the little bitty teeny tiny servos are going to be an issue. The servo horns just aren't strong enough. I'm really not getting enough motion out of these anyway. So I don't know. I mean, it works, but it's not working to the extent I want it to yet. So let me do some more tinkering here and see what I can come up with. Alright, so I've got it on the auxiliary channel on the DX3S. That servo, I think, is going out. These are little cheap ones I got off eBay. It's acting a fool. Just glitchy and twitchy. I've swapped them back and forth. It's just the servo. So we ignore that for now because I don't want to take that apart just yet. But with the auxiliary switch, I've got down, I've got up. That gives us our suspension. This is pretty good ride height, so I'm going to throw the body back on, and we'll see what that looks like. Alright guys, so still doing some research and brainstorming on the front end. It's really, this body was not the right one for my first attempt at adjustable suspension. I'm having a hard enough time just trying to figure out any suspension on the front with keeping the hood on here and everything. But as you can hear, I swapped out that one servo. It was just fried, I guess. It was all twitchy. Now it's nice and quiet. Well, up you can hear it, but down it's nice and quiet. I don't know how long those servos will last. I'm going to keep jacking with it and see what happens. Again, with the front end, I really don't know what I'm going to do. I've thought about just making the front stationary about that high and making the rear up and down. Because there's really just no space up there. I've got to, unless I don't want to actually put a motor and transmission in here, then I'd have all kinds of room. But I really, it's not just going to be a static display. I want to actually drive it. I want to, be able to move it around and have it go up and down. I think that's needed. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see y'all in the next installment.